On Facebook Marketplace, you can buy basketballs or paintings for your walls from neighbors like Michelle or Paul.
Hi.
Hello.
Because on Facebook Marketplace, there's a real person behind the things for sale. Facebook Marketplace. Shop with real people for really great finds.
Blog Talk Radio.
So it's Thursday, and I woke up this morning thinking it was Friday. Maybe it's because I was up at 6:30. Well, my body was up at 6:30. My brain was not up at 6:30, let's put it that way. But my brain is fully functional now at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Hi, kids. It's me once again. Reminder to everybody before we get started on today's interview, I just want to throw out there, I had just an amazing episode yesterday with the gals over at Glamour Bridal. So definitely, without a doubt, go ahead. If you didn't get an opportunity to listen to yesterday's show, listen to it. First of all, they're a mother-daughter combination. Second of all, they do some of the most cool, kick-ass, personalized stuff you'd ever want to see. I'm so excited for you to listen. So please do so. Obviously, today, we have a double-decker, which is we're talking to the folks, both Jeremy and Charleene from No Postage Necessary, which will be happening shortly. And then on top of which we have the lovely, talented, beautiful, amazing Judy Gass. She runs circles around me, that woman. Does a lot of what I do, author, entrepreneur, actress, model, TV show host, radio host. I mean, the list goes on. And she's got this fabulous conference coming up called What Women Want. So please make sure that you spend the next 2 hours listening to me, because who doesn't want to listen to my voice for 2 hours? Said no one ever. Quick reminders to everybody, in case you are still looking to submit to my film festival, meaning the LA Film Festival. It's Art is Alive Film Festival Los Angeles. It's taking place in December. I'm still taking submissions up until, let's say, Halloween. Why? It's my favorite holiday, and why wouldn't I? So, again, we are looking for 3 things: shorts and features up to 90 minutes. We're looking for TV pilots up to 60 minutes. And then, of course, we're looking for music videos up to 10 minutes. If you have anything for me, you can either go to the link on Film Freeway, which is Art is Alive Film Festival Los Angeles, or the website itself, which is artisalivefilmfestival.yolasite.com. Get it submitted nice and cheap. Why? Because you're filmmakers and most of us are broke, and I get it. So it's a whopping $20 to submit. So that's number one. Number two, I want to remind everybody that I am on here next week, the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th. And it's possible I might end up in New York City. Shocker, once again, for the Woodstock Festival. I'll let you know on that. October 9th at 12:30 and 1:30, double-decker. October 10th at 1:30, and, of course, October 11th at 2 o'clock. All Central Standard Time. Check the Sins Chat Corner page for my entire lineup as it relates to that. And if you saw the news hot off the presses yesterday, just when I thought I was done having film festivals, oh yes, it would appear that Art is Alive is going to be alive yet again for a 3rd year in New York City next year. July, which is my birthday month, we're having it, and this year we are doing a tribute to, not Frank Vincent, although we are screening a film. We're doing the tribute to Robin Williams this year, and I've decided to implement my very absolute first Lifetime Achievement Award, and that's going to, and praying, folks, and I mean pray with everything you have, Johnny Depp. I highly doubt he's going to show up. We're going to honor him. We're going to do a film. We're going to do the whole 9 yards, so we'll see how that goes. So look forward to dates in a new venue. And submissions, I'll start taking them in December, of course. So I'll keep you posted on that. But you don't want to listen to me talk anymore. You want to listen to these guys talk. So without further ado, let's get Jeremy and Charleene on the line.
Well, good morning.
Hi, folks. That's a lot in there. Sorry, I was like, I got to cover every single thing right now because I never know when they're listening. Like, are they listening now? Are they listening at the end? When you do a lot of stuff, you got to do a lot of stuff first. So I'm like, I'm sorry I had to be on hold.
That, and I don't know. I think you nailed it.
I did.
That was nice. I'm like, I just want to listen to
Absolutely.
her.
Okay, first of all, I sound like a boy. So I'm like, I don't know why anyone listens to this program. We have like 64,000 people. I'm like, why are you listening? I'm like, why are you listening to a boy? I don't sound right. I'm a little tired this morning. So you get me nice and perky. Woo-hoo! This will be fun.
Look, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess in this case, listener, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, well,
there you go.
Absolutely. And I have some great listeners, of course, and they're very, very supportive of independent film. And I'm extremely excited to talk to you. First of all, I apologize that we've had to put you up about 8,000 times. I've tried to schedule this interview, I kid you not, like 3 times now. And every time something came up, and I'm like, darn it, because you guys are like a mega couple. This movie is mega awesome, and I'm like nervous to talk to you. Like, seriously.
Oh, you're so you're so sweet. Well, you know what? When you get to do what you love with someone or some ones that you love,
yes.
That's it. That's what life's about. So we're very blessed.
That's exactly
in that
right.
sense. But glad you liked the film. We were. It's nice to kind of get it out into the world officially now. I mean, it's been in theaters. It's been released online digitally. It was the first film ever to release via blockchain technology, so people can watch it anywhere in the world. They can, using cryptocurrency on the Vayview app. And now, as of Tuesday, it's on Blu-ray and DVD. So, again,
I'm like so blown away by this movie. I can't even tell you. Oh, it's like it is so. There's just so much to ask about this. I'm like so excited. And you're a musician, so like if you were a guy, you'd be my perfect mate right now. Like first of all, you can sing. Second of all, you can act. Third of all, you're intelligent. You dress well. I'm like, oh my God, but you're not a guy, so it is what it is. I'm okay. It's perfectly fine. But there's just so much to talk about. Okay, so let's start at the very, very beginning, of course. Now, first of all, do I have one of you or both of you? I just want to make sure.
You've got both of us.
Yeah, both of us.
I just talk more than he does.
Okay, good.
But I'll shut up.
I kind of figured that because I'm like, is Jeremy alive in there somewhere? So hi, Jeremy. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm terribly intimidated of you. And we'll leave it at that for the moment because he looks very serious. So I'm like, oh, my God, he's going to eat me for breakfast today. But I'll try to do my very best.
No, he's a teddy bear.
I have so much to ask. So I'm going to start off at the very beginning, which is, of course, we're going to talk about you as people, and then we're obviously going to talk about No Postage Necessary. I think that's the best way to do an interview because I'm sure that the world knows that Jeremy and Charleene are actual people that do other things besides just make movies, of course. So, Jeremy, I'm going to start with you. First of all, I find it fascinating that you're from Honolulu. Wow. My first guest from Hawaii. Hi. Wow. Tell me about Hawaii because I want to die there. I want to die there.
I wasn't there long.
What is it? Oh, really?
No, unfortunately. It's a beautiful place, though.
Is it?
Which goes without saying.
I've never been. Yeah, well, I kind of figured as much. Absolutely. So I've looked at your career, and I've seen all the various different things that you've done. I know that you're a writer, a director. You've been an editor before, of course. But you were also a track and field athlete, and I was in track and field, and yeah, I didn't win anything. And you've won all sorts of these things. So I'm curious to ask about that history. Do you still get to work out and do all that good stuff? And what gravitated you to becoming an athlete in that area?
When I was a young kid, I just ran a lot, and I found I could run faster than other people. So it just, it just started. And then when I got into elementary school, there's competitions. So I entered competitions, and I won those. And I think as a young person, you're trying to identify kind of the sense of self and who you are. And so I was like, wow, I'm a winner. And so you want to keep doing the things that kind of represent who you feel you are, who you want to be. So I just kept competing, and I really loved it and competed. And that was my main focus. Athletics was my main focus all the way through junior high and high school. And then into college. I went to college on a track scholarship. So it was just it feels like a lifetime ago because it's just a very different way of living life, especially in track and field where everything is very objective, whereas in the arts things are much more subjective. And so that was a really interesting, when I entered the arts, retraining my brain to shift into that space where, you're not being timed, you're not trying to clear a height or a distance. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey from track and field all the way through filmmaking.
Very, very different. And not only that, with all the stuff you have going on right now, is that still an important part of your life? Because obviously as we age, you're younger than I am. I'm almost 50. So I'm like, as we get older, I think that physicality is more important, how we take care of ourselves, et cetera. So do you still juggle that in where you're kind of like, yeah, I still got to get to the gym, I still got to take care of me, or is it kind of like, yeah, that was, like you said, a lifetime ago, and I just don't have time?
Not as much as I should. It's weird, now I work out just to feel good or to clear my mind, and whereas when you're training at that level, when I was younger, and I was training with the U.S. Olympic decathlon coach, and I had some of the best coaches in the world I was training with. It's very much a job. You wake up, you go to practice, you go to classes, and then you do another training session in the afternoon and lift. And so that kind of training is just, again, it's so objective-oriented. And so it took me a while, my 20s and even my 30s, to even work out and not immediately go back to that space and realize that I don't need to kill myself basically in working out. I can just work out for the benefit of my own health and benefit of my own mental health. And so when I work out now, I try to stay fit and, fit in clothes that I bought 10 years ago. And so far, but when I work out,
can I relate to that one?
A mental break.
He's got priorities.
Sure, definitely. Well, we all, and let's get real. I mean, we all try to beat the clock, and we're like, oh, yeah, we're not getting older. And all of a sudden you look there, and I'm totally right there with you. Like, I just had to go through my wardrobe, tell my daughter, take my clothes. They don't fit anymore. Wonder why? Because I'm getting old and fat. Thank you very much. But, no, I get that as far as that goes. I just thought that was extraordinary. I was like, I don't really get a chance to interview people who have had such a impressive background, meaning in terms of being an athlete like that. That's absolutely awesome. Now, I want to flip gears to the creative side. I want to talk a bit about directing. You're talking to a woman who's about to direct her first film, and she's petrified. And so I'm like, okay, perfect opportunity. I talk to directors all the time, but I've never spoken to you. So I'm curious, especially for me or anybody that's listening in today who's a newbie, what's the number one rule when it comes to directing that you adhere to, that you would suggest to any other person who wants to kind of jump into the director pool?
Hire a good cast. Seriously.
That's a good one.
You have a great...
Really?
What's that?
The big one, yeah.
It's a huge one. I think one of the most important jobs a director does is casting. If you have a great cast and great actors to work with, it's magical. And, as a job as a director, you're really a CEO of an organization where you're managing so many different moving parts and both creative. And, the director's job is to serve the story. A producer's job is to, have a fiduciary responsibility to the investors. And so as a director serving the story, the actors are the most important element in the serving of that story because they're the ones that are telling the story. Now, I don't want to say they're important in lieu of, your DP. I mean, they're all important. But if you can have a really great cast to tell your story, there's a lot of things when you'll be able to figure out as you go along. And you'll be able to go deeper into the creative process.
Gotcha.
And, and to back that up, too, I think even from an actor's perspective, the best directors I've ever worked with have also had very strong casts because there is something to be said that, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And a story is only as strong as its weakest storyteller, no matter what their role is on set, whether in front of the camera or behind. And when you have people who you are confident in saying, I am the weakest link on set, and you walk on sets, it's a good day because that means that we're all there, we're all growing, we're all learning, and we're serving something much greater. So just to high-five what Jeremy said, I think there's a lot of validity to that. Yeah,
and then filling out the rest of your departments. I mean, these are people you're going to be creating with. Obviously your DP, your first AD is so important because that's keeping the schedule and keeping everything on schedule and has contingency plans for rains. And, the relationship between a director and a first AD is a very special relationship. As is the relationship between a director and a DP and the costume designer and the production designer. And so for me, I really want to work with people that I really enjoy being around, work with incredible artists who we feel like we enjoy each other's company, we enjoy the process of the story we're telling. And one of the casting director on my first film said that, be careful of who you hire because you really are going to summer camp with them. You're going to be basically, you're with them all day, you get a little bit of sleep and you come back, and you have to make sure you like who you're camping with.
Sure.
And I thought that was a good bit of advice.
That is a great bit of advice, to tell you the truth, actually. I think my cast hates me at this point. I've built a beautiful cast, make no mistake. I have cast in 2 different cities, and I think they're wonderful. We're like one big film family, but we fight like one, too. I think we're all in kind of like that mode right now where we're like, I'm crabby, they're all crabby. We're all kind of like, love you, let's do this thing. So we'll see how it goes. On the flip side of the fence, editing, we were talking about this in a... Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It's okay to fight. It's okay to have disagreements. It's okay, but as long as you're walking through the process, and again, if you're serving the story, we have one rule, is that if you're not serving the story, you're serving your ego. And so if you're bringing something, is it out of ego, and are you fighting based on your ego, or are you fighting because you really believe in how it'll affect the story? and that's a real differentiator throughout the whole process.
Good point. Very good point. You know, and like I said, we have these little sort of things. I think they're just so excited, of course. And the other part of the equation, which ties into you being an editor, because I see that you've edited 2 of your projects. So here's my question. A lot of editors that come on the show, we talk a lot about, obviously we live in an age where there's a lot of CGI and all sorts of special effects and all sorts of different ways to film and shoot and, of course, to edit. And so here was my question to you. We have a film that we're doing that is using 6 genres within the course of one film. So like film noir, you're doing horror, you're doing black and white, all that good stuff, silent. Again, to the editing side of things, to those that are listening in, a lot of new filmmakers, one of the biggest things they want to do is jump to using great effects and unique and specialty type genres. What would you recommend in terms of making the editing process more clean, more cut, and just easier for literally the entire team? That seems to be the one thing that most filmmakers just are most nervous about, is getting the editing right.
Yeah, I'll back up a little bit. I work with an editor named Sandy Solowitz out of Los Angeles, because I think you get 3 chances to write a film. You write it at the script stage, you write it when you shoot it, and then you write it when you're editing. And because I'm a writer-director, I'm already occupying 2 of those positions, and I think it's really important to get another storyteller into that process. And so so I work with an editor, and he allows me, if I want to work on something or if I want to try something out, he doesn't mind me sitting in the chair. And as a director, I have the right to, but it's important that the editor doesn't mind because, again, that's another relationship.
Right.
But so I work with an editor who brings his own viewpoint to the story and his own interpretation to the story. And so he's been editing for 30 years. He's just been around for a long time and worked on so many projects, too many to name, and really great projects. And we talk about your question a lot about effects, about we know we have this beautiful crane shot that cost a lot of money. And we always talk about if the effects get in the way of the story, then we should never allow that to happen. And just because you have this beautiful shot in the can that we know costs a lot of money doesn't mean we have to use it if it's not positively affecting the story. Because the audience won't know. All they'll know is that they're in a story, and our job is to keep them in that story and take them deeper through that story. If we're doing effects just for the sake of effects or these beautiful shots because we're in love with them, and it's not serving the story, then it's the audience out of the story. So I think it goes back to like what serves the story. It's not the cool effects. It's not this cool plugin you bought. It's not this this great thing that you think looks really cool. And the audience just cares about the story. Now, if you want to talk workflow, that's kind of I think different conversation as well, which I'm happy to talk about.
Oh, right. Obviously, I get you. No, I think that's kind of the gist of it. Like I said, I get most worried about directing, of course, and then obviously editing. And I've noticed this, the more that I teach and I meet and I talk to new-time filmmakers, that's their biggest thing, is making sure the cast does what they're supposed to do. And in this case, obviously, the editing is just as important, if not more important, especially because in this case, we're doing an improv film. So there is no script. It's an outline. And so they're literally kind of coming in, doing their own little thing. So I'm like, it'll be interesting to see it fold out. But I appreciate your opinion, because it's clear to me in just watching the one film that I watched that you obviously know what you're like point on from every perspective that I can see, whether it's the cast, whether it's the storytelling, whether it's the scenarios, whether it's the backdrop, whether it's the music. You have a flair, is what I'm noticing in this, like I said, one film that I've seen. So, of course, I have to ask the writer question, because you're writer, director, editor here. Out of all 3, tell me which one that you prefer to do every day, all day long, if given the chance. And on the writing perspective, I just had a question about this because someone asked me this. In terms of screenplay software, I know it might sound cliche to ask this, but what do you use? Because you talk to one screenwriter, they'll give you 17 different formats and things always change. So I like to keep my audience informed on people are doing movies nowadays. This is how they're putting their stuff together. Make sense?
Yeah, of course. So screenwriting software, I still use Final Draft because it's industry standard. It's easiest to hand over to the first AD and everybody else throughout the whole process. So it's just a format that's easy to plug into the workflow, the film workflow as it currently stands.
Okay.
I know there's other software that's very collaborative, and I write with my sister sometimes, and it'd be nice to have that collaborative software, but we just use Final Draft.
I gotcha. And would you prefer to be writing all day long if you would, or would you rather just be behind the camera and being like, I'd love to direct every day of the year? I just want to get your take on where you lie in that.
I love both of them. I love the energy of being on set and the creativity of being on set. I don't think I could do that every day of the year because I'm sure I'd get burned out. You know, when you're doing a film like ours, which has a lot of locations, and we filmed in 19 days,
right.
There's a lot. I mean, it's invigorating, but it's also you at some point you're just going on adrenaline. As far as like a normal life and having a sustainable life, I love writing. I love being able to. I'm out for dinner, and Charlene and I can go do things, or we can go travel, and I can be writing while I'm traveling. So it's a much more sustainable way of living, and I love being able to just create a new world out of nothing, and writing allows that, and I really love it.
Good answer. Now, before I forget, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think probably post-production, although there's elements that are really exciting, it's also the most nerve-wracking. You know, that's where the insecurities kind of creep in, and you're wondering, why am I doing this? Whoever gave me a budget to work with, I have no idea what I'm doing. You know, and then it comes together, you're like, okay, I'm not that bad. And I've read other filmmakers, like Academy Award-winning filmmakers, who have shared that same feedback, and so it makes me feel better about myself, but editing can be a little in that regard.
I gotcha. So my last question for you before we switch over to Charlene is, I didn't know until this morning that you have a very beautiful and talented fiancé. I didn't know that she was your fiancé. So tell the listening audience a bit about your fiancé.
Charlene is, who you're going to talk to here shortly, is absolutely incredible. She is a kind, intelligent, fierce Irish woman. And I'm actually just continually blown away by her talent. You know, I think it's easy in a relationship where you're both artists to be, you know, hypercritical while being hyper-supportive. And so in this last film, it was really nice for me to sit back in the audience when we first showed the film at Heartland Film Festival last year and just watch her performance and be actually just like really completely surprised and really enthralled with the character. Even though, you know, I wrote the character and I was on set and I was in editing, as an audience member, it was absolutely incredible. And to see that, and she surprises me like that every day. She is one of the most gifted musicians I've ever come across, and her producers, who have won multiple Grammys in Nashville, say the same thing. And we've been together for 10 years, and I think only was like 4 years ago that she can play the piano. She just sat down one day and started playing the piano. It's this beautiful piece. And I'm just like, you can play the piano? And she goes, well, I did start when I was 2 years old. She goes, but I haven't played in a while. I'm just like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, so she's got a very deep well of talent, which is only matched by the person she is.
Aww. Can we just all cry right now? Can I just say I really feel even more like a loser because I'm single? Yay! There's another romantic couple. Woo-hoo! No, actually, I absolutely love talking about relationships, happy relationships, people being in love. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And, of course, giving us a little backstory on you, Jeremy. And we'll talk about this at the very end of the program. We want to talk about the upcoming project you have, which is The Past is Never Dead, the story of William Faulkner. We'll get into that. But we don't want to talk about that right now. We want to talk about the lovely Charlene. Wow, you're pretty. I've looked at you on YouTube. I've looked at you on Facebook. And, yeah, God, you're cute. I mean, you're a cute, tiny actor, musician, pageant winner. Oh, my God, you're a pageant winner. So let's just start right there. She's a Florida pageant winner. Not once, multiple times. Okay, let me just tell you why I want to talk about it, okay? Okay, because first of all, like I see these reality shows and I see these little kids doing these pageant things, and I'm like, I don't really know how I feel about that. Like, I have a daughter, you know, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like they slap a lot of makeup on you. They tell you have to be like 10 pounds. I can imagine that pressure and that, oh, my God. Wow.
Well,
so tell us a bit about that. I mean, that experience has got to be, I don't even know.
So for me, Pageants actually was, Pageants for me was a choice that I made. And it wasn't a choice that I made until I was in my late teens, early 20s. And I actually grew up as I was the fat kid. I was quite homely with my massive tortoiseshell, Coke bottle glasses. I mean, like full on, not the most attractive child you'd ever meet, but very strong-willed.
Okay.
I used my intelligence as my weapon, and I was a very different person. And so for me, Pageants was actually a self-exploration of, well, what does it mean to present myself in a different way? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How do I think about myself? How do I think about others telling me how I should think about myself? That was really what that whole life choice and experience for me, which lasted about maybe 4 or 5 years, what that boiled down to was really more of truly self-exploration. I think life is all about the choices that we make, and I am very blessed to have parents who all of my life have supported my choices. They are very quick to say, hey, have you considered this? Or just a flat out, we have more life experience. Let's choose a different, let's look at different choices here. I'm an only child, so I have a very close relationship with my parents. And I think early on they taught me the power of choice and how to honor choices of others and the choices of yourself. So I think that all just kind of came into play for me with Pageants. It's funny. Somebody once asked me, he said, did Pageants prepare you for your acting career? And I was almost taken back by that question, because to me it's like saying, did your studying opera prepare you to, be a carpenter? They are so different. So I think with every experience in life, we're able to gain some sort of information, things that affirm, things that maybe suggest a different approach. But I think it's all about information gathering and just this idea of creativity and creation. I don't think that's exclusive to artists. I think we all create every day.
True.
And whether we define it as, quote, creative or not, doesn't really matter. I mean, an accountant is just as creative as a doctor who is sustaining life. An accountant is building numbers to help fortify some sort of future. A doctor is creating life and sustain life force. An artist is creating art which supports and entertains and enthralls that life force that has been created. So I think it's a pretty big subject, actually. I really just went all around the bushes to get about why I participated in Pageants.
I was just going to say, I should probably reel her in there, but I'm like, she's really going on this whole thing. I was just blown away by that. I'm like, you know what? No matter how you stand on that, it is impressive to some degree, because clearly you're being acknowledged as being the best in something, clearly. And I realize it's a look sort of thing. Obviously, we equate Pageants to that. But I'm like, I'm just curious to ask you, does that, within your current career or at any point during your career, was that a leg up in any manner, shape, or form? Because, obviously, I don't know that they look at you outside of, modeling. Does it help in terms of acting career, musical career? Does it make a difference at all? I think
there's something to be said for being able to look someone square in the eye and say, hello. And I think when one has confidence, no matter how that confidence is gained, you're able to see, not only you see yourself more clearly, but you're able to see others more clearly. And as an artist, that absolutely has that's a huge asset. And whenever I'm able to work with other actors or artists in whatever genre or medium that have that self-fortitude, it absolutely brings more to whatever it is that we're creating. So, I think it's that self-realization is huge. And look, no matter where someone stands on their perception and perspective of pageants, I think it's great. For some people, they need to have that life experience. That's great. Go do it. Enjoy it.
Sure.
I think anytime we assert what is good for us onto somebody else might not necessarily be the most fair or accurate version of life, because that's what they need to experience. And I can say that because that's something that I needed to experience. So doesn't necessarily mean that's something I would do today. But hey, look, we all gotta live life in our own unique and special kind of ways. So I'm actually quite appreciative of the time that I had and the lessons that I learned about others and about myself.
Good. Very, very good. Now, I want to go back to something that Jeremy had mentioned, which I have on the list here, which is you started reading music at the age of 2. And all I can remember from my children at 2 is, we're getting out of diapers, we're making noise, etc. I was blown away by this. When I have people on that are like, oh, my God, they have this knack for music at an incredibly early age. So tell us what you remember, like first when you're first starting, and obviously you're a well-versed musician now. So when you're young, what is that? Do you still retain some of the stuff like early on that you used? I mean, how did you have that gift so early on? That just blows me away.
It's funny. Jeremy actually laughs at me because I'll have heard a song when I was a child, and I wouldn't have heard it for decades, and suddenly either it'll pop into my mind or I'll hear it somewhere, and I'll just start singing along. I'm like, I don't even know how I know this song, but I'll know every single lyric. I think we're all just put together differently, and I think that's how my put together. However, I have the memory of a gnat, and so if you ask me what I did yesterday, I can honestly struggle to tell you. I don't know. So we all have our gifts. But for me, when I remember being really little, I remember I started, like I said, when I was 2, and my first piano teacher's name was Miss Patty Linder, and Miss Patty sit me on this. At the time, it was a massive piano bench, my feet dangling, and which I always enjoyed kicking my feet. I thought that was fun, great fun. And she, in front of me, how she taught me to read was she would put stickers on each of the piano keys and would correlate the stickers to from the piano keys onto a clef that I was looking at in front of me. And it was actually, a pretty easy and quite effective way for me to very quickly learn how to read music. And I think starting on piano as well was very helpful. There's always a great debate. Well, is it better to start a child on a piano or a guitar? And I 100% assert, mostly because it's such a visual medium. Guitar's laid out a little differently, so you have to think more esoterically. And if you just really want to lock in basics, I feel like, man, you got 12 keys that repeat, a series of 12 notes in front of you that repeat. It's very straightforward. For me, it gave me a leg up in all my other music trajectory for the rest of my life. So
it just, like I said, it blows my mind away because I'm like, I didn't even start writing, and I've been writing for 30 years now, and I was like, the earliest I can even remember was like 10, 12, and even that's kind of young. I'm like, more power to you, girl. That's amazing, and that I think that I'm standing in awe of you right now, believe it or not, all the way here in Wisconsin. I'm like, awesome. I thought it was super cool that you have done that jazz cabaret album. That is awesome because I'm a huge jazz fan, huge cabaret fan, but it didn't suit me, meaning like when I looked at you, you know how you look at a musician and you're like, oh, she's probably specializes in this area. So it was hard for me to kind of put your face to that sort of genre. Do you know what I mean? Was that kind of out of the box for you? Was that something that you really, really enjoy or that you're a big fan of and just wanted to do?
I am a big fan of and I just wanted to do.
Okay.
So for me, I believe that any sort of how I work best learning is always studying with a very classical foundation of education. Okay. And so once I have that locked in, then I feel like I'm ready to explore. It's kind of like, if you look at Picasso, he was incredible, and Jeremy uses his example all the time, and I think it's brilliant, but Picasso was an incredible realist. But he's mostly known for the more abstract, Picasso-esque sort of art he created. And so for of you got to know the sandboxes that you're going to play in, and by exploring different genres deeply, I'm able to bring things out of those genres that influence me as an artist. So all of these different explorations, whether it's singing opera, whether it's playing, Western swing fiddle or Celtic fiddle, or singing jazz cabaret, I think that for me, it's about that exploration of, okay, what are these options that I can bring back and actually make my art in totality more solidified and real.
Now, I want to ask a question relative to that. So when you're deciding to do something along the jazz line versus, for instance, the music that we're going to play today that you were kind enough to give me, and I can't wait to have people listen to that because I'm like, oh my God, that's that soulful sound that you have. Like, for instance, when somebody mentions jazz, I think of like Billie Holiday, which is one of my favorite people. I'm like, oh my God, I can listen to her constantly all the time. So when it comes down to doing a cabaret style versus doing something, for instance, for a movie soundtrack, let's say you're composing something, walk us through that process, because I imagine there has to be much more preparation when it comes to the cabaret side of things. I can't see this as a simplistic process. Does that make sense? Maybe it's because I'm not a musician, but I'm just like,
honestly, I think interestingly, I'd go back to, I'd kind of start echoing what Jeremy talks about as serving the story. I think it's, every genre gravitates towards different types of stories that are told. When you sing the blues, you are singing the blues. And there's a certain archetype that has to be tapped into. There's a certain depth of not only story and lyric, but just something, a color that exists out there that is completely truthful to the blues. Now, not everybody has that color. Not everybody, there's a reason that the blues originated as it did, and there's a reason that there are singers who we find in each genre that are really truthful to that particular style because they resonate in that place. So, I think, especially from a more of a cabaret type of perspective, where you're locking into this connection with an audience in an older style of song, which, by the way, I think songs from the Great American Songbook are hands down some of the best songs ever written. You look at the songs of the 30s and the 40s, there is a craft in their songwriting that is really, we don't see a lot of that anymore, and I think it's a function of the way the audiences tend to consume music. But there's so much that one can explore when singing those stories. There's a lot of preparation. It's just like, being an actor, you have to prepare your character.
Correct.
And you prepare your character within the genre, let alone with each of the specific songs that you're going to be sharing. So it, for me, I think I just kind of find, well, what does this look like? What does this feel like? How can I be truthful for me singing that without ever putting on a pretense of, well, this is what it should be? Because look, if you and I were going to play Macbeth, your Macbeth, we're playing the same character, but your Macbeth would have a very different color, shape, feel, resonance, vibration than mine would.
Right.
And that's great. And some people would gravitate towards your Macbeth way more so than they would mine, and vice versa. So I think that's one of the things I love most about art is that there's room for everybody, because we all have different types of stories that we're here to tell, and that we can truthfully tell, and that people hear and get and just, really connect with. So all of those things kind of go together for me in my mind when I'm preparing. Okay, so what does this song sound like? What does that actually feel like?
Sure.
And it's always so much. It's ironically, I feel like it's so much bigger. It sounds so much bigger, but when you just get in the moment, it's actually, when I find that I can just let everything go, it's actually quite simple, because it's not about me. It's not about what I, quote, think it should be. It's about just the allowance and of letting these stories, letting these sounds flow, and getting out of the way and saying, hey, all right, let's do this.
Look at that. What a lovely explanation. There you go. That's a lot of our problems, I think. Get out of your own way. Like, literally, Cindy, step away from Cindy right now. Do what you got to do. So I totally get you. And folks, get this. She's played with 3 of my top favorites. First of all, Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I interviewed one of the founders of TSO. TSO is like, I can't even tell you. Josh Groban, I can't even go there.
Yeah.
And then Frank Sinatra Jr. I mean, I literally sit here and I compose, literally write to Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. I'm like, oh, my God, I envy her even more. So before we go on to talking about the movie, I have to ask you, tell me a little bit about your fiancé. Because I'm like, of course I have to do a full side here. So tell me about Jeremy.
Jeremy is one of the most compassionate people I've ever met. He's compassionate. He has compassion for others and also for himself. So he's able to find a really great balance of what life looks like for him. And I think that's one of the reasons that he's so attractive. And people love Jeremy. I mean, we just laugh. It's like, oh yeah, that's the Jeremy effect, because he there's no judgment. He just sits in space and he observes and he lets you be you and he'll be him. And, but God forbid the person who tries to overstep that bound, because he's very defined in what resonates for him and what he would choose to allow in his space. And I think that's actually a great lesson that we all can benefit from, of what is it that works? What is it that doesn't?
Sure.
He's a good master of balance, and he's oh my God, he's so stinking funny. He is the Twitter king, because the things that he says in 140 characters or less, I'm like, oh my God, you need to tweet that. And he's like, but it's not the same. So it's like, you have to be there.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes, so that is him. So, he is the consummate writer in that sense, but it's never from pretense. It's always just really a function of who he is. And I think one of the things I love most about Jeremy is that he tries so hard. You know what I mean? Like, some people just don't, they'll give it okay, yeah, whatever. No, he keeps going and going and going, and he just tries so hard, and he succeeds, I think, because of that dedication to not being mundane or normal.
God, this is so sweet. I feel like we need to have a wedding scene, like, right now. Like, let's just marry these folks right now, because I'm like, I have them both in here, and are you listening to them? I'm like, oh, my gosh. And there must be something about that humor thing, because I just said that the other day. I said, there's someone that I have my eye on, and I'm like, he's just so incredibly funny. He could say bread, and I would laugh at him. I'm like, it's all about the way he looks and how he says it. So there's a lot to be said about humor, folks. Find yourself someone who makes you laugh, and that's a huge, huge component to anything. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the big movie, Postage Necessary. Yeah.
Charlene also tells me every day that I'm very good looking. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Team Charlene, like, bam on that ego thing, because you know what? Men need to hear that. I do think they need to hear that. Like, literally, they get a little insecure sometimes, because I'm like, I try really hard to be like, yeah, you're really handsome, you're really cute. They like that stuff. Us women do too, just so you know. So throwing that out there, just for you, Jeremy.
Hey,
girls
Jeremy.
like that too, but I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, hey, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
You're really good looking.
Oh, thank you.
Now we're on to the stand-up, folks. Just saying. Oh, my God. You guys are too cute. You're killing me. Okay. So we're going to talk about No Postage Necessary. In case you folks are just tuning in now, obviously, of course, Jeremy and Charlene are the power combination, not only in life but also in love, and, of course, within the course of this movie. They are also part of what we call Two Roads Picture Company. So number one question. I know that you had shot this, as you mentioned, in 19 days, and, of course, that was in Florida. And I want to talk about this because I want to do what you've done, which is I suggested shooting on 35-millimeter film, and everyone looked at me like I was on some sort of medication, and they think it can't be done. And so I am literally talking to someone. So tell us your experience with and why you selected using 35-millimeter for this film.
It was... From a creative standpoint, we're dealing with themes of computer hacking, which tend to, take people, glass buildings in major cities. And but the reality is, it takes place in a lot of small towns amongst disaffected youth. in order to get these concepts of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency across, really wanted to bring it into a small town and make that small town feel very tangible. And and film's analog. We see an analog. We're analog beings. And digital is great, but it's at best it's only ever going to be a series of zeros and ones replicating a color wave. And and so from a creative standpoint, film really made a lot of sense. So then you get into the value film brings, and Jennifer Closshey, our executive producer, is incredible in the sense that she's like, value is not defined just by dollars. Value is defined by a total picture. And so let's walk through a value assessment of what film can bring to this project. And so we started with casting, and film really helped in casting because agents and cast know that they're not going to come to Florida and be taken by, through a project by people they don't know. And, the last thing somebody like Michael Beach wants to do is fly to Florida in the middle of the summer and be taken through 20 takes of each scene. With film, you can't do that. There's a finite amount of film. Film's money going through that camera. And so what it does is it signals to the cast that, okay, this crew, this team knows exactly what they're doing, and they're going to handle my time respectfully, and I'm going to be able to lock into my character and stay there. So that brought a lot of value on the casting front. And then when you're on set, production-wise, you aren't going to do 20 takes. Depending on what ratio you shoot, you're going to do far fewer takes. So what that does is it forces everybody to be 100% focused. And people that were raised in film, that's just kind of, that's par for the course. But a lot of, younger people I've noticed that are raised in the digital world where they feel like they have infinite amount of, disk space in order to capture things, they overshoot a lot, and because they're just not focused as much as they could be. Well, with film, everybody needs to be focused. The first AC who's pulling focus needs to be focused. The actors, me as a director, and so you just have this. What comes out of the camera is it was just a higher quality. We felt we'd get, and then you get into editing, and again, it's the same thing. If you may only have 5 or 7 takes per scene, but they're 5 or 7 really quality takes as opposed to having your editor go through 20 takes. And so what we found is that we actually got through the offline edit much faster than we even did on our previous film where we shot digitally because there's less choices, but higher quality choices. The last thing you do is want your editor going through 20, 30 takes for each scene. It just takes forever. It's exhausting. And so we looked at the life cycle, the whole workflow, and film really added a lot of value, and we were able to be basically cost neutral on it. Film equipment is much cheaper to rent, and especially because houses in L.A., Panavision has a grant where they'll give you a whole, the film package, including lenses, if you get in early enough for $5,000. So you can get film equipment rental much cheaper, whereas if you're going to try to rent an Area Alexa with the same package, you're looking at around $50,000 for the life of a film.
Sure.
So you save money right there. You don't need a DIT, so you save money there. So you find all these, you do a cost comparison, and, obviously you need to process and you need to scan, which, you don't need to do if you're shooting digital. But we were basically able to be cost neutral against digital. And then we have the added benefit is that film is a much better storage medium than digital. If you don't spin up your drives at least every couple of years, the chances of those drives not turning on one day are really, really good. And then, you lose digital, if those drives just sit there for 10 years, you're going to lose data on those drives. Whereas you can put film on a shelf and 100 years later you can come back and that film's going to play. So yeah, that's my answer.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if you could just convince my cast that I'm not crazy for this, because I'm like, every time I bring it up, they're just like, no. And I'm like, you just don't see the validity to this. So I'm like, thank you so much. All of you that are listening in that are my cast are going to re-listen to this entire interview. Thank you so much. And we're all going to jump on the Jeremy bandwagon, aren't we? Just saying. So thank you for that. I want to talk a bit about Two Roads Picture Company, obviously, of course, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I know that you've been in business since 2016. Obviously, of course, you're producing partners as well. And just so you folks know, they specialize in not just film, but also television, music production, and distribution. So do you work and create your own projects, or do you literally solicit and try to find other television producers, music, musicians, et cetera? Do you collaborate with other collectives and creatives all the time? Tell us a bit about the company itself.
Well, the company was really founded. We had a production company that was called Evergreen Productions for our first feature film, An Evergreen Christmas. And so we restructured that and moved it into Two Rose Picture Company with the goal of being able to develop projects in these spaces of film, music, and television. The first project we produced was No Postage Necessary, and kind of build our business model around that, where we have been the distributors for that film. Because of the blockchain angle, we needed to keep these blockchain rights, which didn't exist in the marketplace, and it was too difficult to try to explain to people. And so what we did is we carved out, our digital partners, our DVD partners, our foreign partners, our theatrical partners. So we've basically working with partners that other distributors work with, and have created all those channels. So at this point, we definitely intended to continue to develop our own content, but absolutely we're always looking for the right partners. And the right partners, that's a loaded statement because it's hard to find the right partners sometimes in this space, but we'd love to find people that...
And there have been people that have asked to work with us, and we just haven't felt maybe it was the best. And there have been other people that have approached us, and, we thought,
Sure.
wow, there's something really interesting here. So it's, but I think discernment is key.
Yes.
And that's just also how we operate. It's not necessarily, some people want to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks, and that's what works best for them. We tend to be a little bit more specific about certain things because of how we work and how, like I said, Jeremy, he tries really hard. He just always wants the best for everyone and everything, and I think that's a big part of what drives us. Not only for the work that we do, but for the work that we're able to do with and for others.
Each project is a relationship, and you can only have space for relationships in your life before your other relationships start suffering. And so you have to be very careful about what relationships you enter, because a film project, especially as a director, you're with the film all the way through, and and that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And you want to make sure that the project is worthy of that time and energy, especially if it means I can't be spending that time with Charlene or my parents or Charlene's parents, and or my the rest of the family.
Understood. Now, just so you folks know, No Postage Necessary is approximately 1 hour and 44 minutes, which means it's a feature film. In short summarization, we have a computer hacker who is, of course, Sam, played by the lovely and wonderful, I love George. George Blagden plays Sam, who is the lead character. Obviously, he falls for a war widow, who happens to be Josie, which happens to be Charlene, of course. And so the FBI kind of comes in and plays a little monkey wrenching, and it throws in some false accusations, and so you're kind of left to watch this beautiful little story unfold, because how nice that Sam and Josie start to like each other and a relationship builds, and I'm not going to give it all away because you guys will kill me and then you won't go watch it, and then they'll kill me because they'll be like, no one's watching my movie. So I want to talk a bit about selection as it relates to picking George for the character. What was the one thing that caught your eye about George that was like, he'd be perfect for Sam? And more importantly, was that chemistry genuine? Because they really looked like they clicked big time. Like, without hesitation, totally could see them together, totally could see this was a workable situation on all fronts.
Yeah, I'll talk to the picking George. We had a great casting director who was based in the UK and in LA named Sharon Howard Field, and so she presented a list of actors she thought would be really great for the role. And when you're working with a casting director, they're presenting lists, and you're going through those lists, and you're vetoing some. You have your own list, and you're coming up with a list of people who you feel like could be really great for this role. Because the role had to be somebody who was vulnerable, intelligent, and was doing nefarious things, but you had to still like him. And that's a difficult balance. And George initially, when the list first came out, he wasn't on it because he was unavailable. And then a little later into the process, he became available. And I was a big fan of his. He just seemed like Sam to me. And so we Skyped and had a conversation and talked about, my vision for Sam and what this could possibly look like for him. And he asked a lot of questions. And then, got off the call, and basically at that point we made an offer. And, George is he's very highly trained. He went to Guildhall in London. Mm-hmm. And so once we started working, we spent 2 days straight, about 5-hour sessions each day on Skype, going through every single beat of the script. So he's a very well-prepared actor. He really gets into the character, mm-hmm. understands the character, and understands the beats of the script incredibly well.
Sure.
And yes, I think he was just absolutely brilliant in it. And I think that George is such a curious person, and George is also a musician. And he's so curious, and he wants to learn, and he's a Capricorn, and Charlene and I are both Capricorn. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Charlene and George struck up a genuine friendship on set, and so much so that Charlene and George wrote a song together in Nashville and recorded it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think there's genuine chemistry there that is very honest and true.
Yeah, and I think the chemistry question, I would say absolutely. Sam and Josie had a lot of chemistry, as they should, because that's that's who they are. And fortunately, George and Charlene had great chemistry and friendship, and we actually we had a great time writing the song "Till I Loved You" to go in the mm-hmm. film. We wrote, with my producer Brent Mayer, and also a gentleman by the name of Mark Selby, who has since passed. But Mark wrote, for all you country music fans out there, he and his wife wrote "There's Your Trouble" from the Dixie Chicks. Mm-hmm. He wrote "Blue on Black." Yeah, the Kenny Wayne Shepherd and song, and actually his wife Tia Sillers, she's written a lot of songs that are on the album as well, and the soundtrack in the film. And she actually wrote "I Hope You Dance." So, I think surrounding yourself with really good people brings out the art and enhances whatever it is that you're doing. And I think that being around such good, top-notch people, both on set and off set as well, I think only contributed to that ability for George and I to tap into that chemistry. You genuinely love people. I genuinely love a lot of people. I'm not in love with them, but they. I think that love is what one of the work of reality and truth for them. So, and he's great to work with. He's so giving. He's such a good actor. He's he's constantly, he comes up and he meets you, and then whatever it is that you give him, he responds to and then gives you something back. So it's like a great game of tennis.
Oh, that's well described. And when I was watching the film, one of the things that resonated with me was you like Sam. You grow to like him through the course of the story. And even though obviously you see this mess that he's in and all the stuff that's going on, and you really are rooting for him. You're rooting for him. You're rooting for the two of you. I'm looking at Josie and I'm thinking to myself, is she going to let that guard down? Because obviously you see that she's mourning. You see that she's conflicted. You see all of these emotions that you bring to the table. And very impressive, by the way. That's a testament to you as an actor, because I always talk on this show about if an actor makes me feel anything, they've done their job well. And that's a huge proponent for me and many people. So kudos to you on that one, obviously. And clearly, I also see that you cast, in case you folks don't know, Michael Beach, which I had talked to him when he was on Sons of Anarchy. And he's a very likable man on screen and off screen, and I loved his character in this as well. So kudos, of course, on the selection for him. Jeremy, I know that you wrote this with your sister, Morgan, because I said you've mentioned that you wrote with her before. Just curious, turnaround time from creation of the screenplay to actually getting it filmed. What was that lag time there, just to give us some idea?
Well, Morgan and I wrote the story, so I wrote the screenplay on this one. We've written screenplays together, but sometimes we collaborate in different areas. But she had just had her second child and just couldn't commit to writing a screenplay. But we worked on the story together because the idea, she had this idea of, and we kind of pitch each other ideas when we get into these phases. And one of her ideas was, what would a story look like if a young war widow wrote a letter a week to the tomb of the unknown soldier? That she just couldn't get over the death of her husband who was killed in combat. And around that time, I was really investigating and researching the cryptocurrency world and some of the incredible stories coming out of there. And one of them was a computer hacker who was released from probation, and as a condition of his probation, he wasn't allowed access to the internet. And I thought that, wow, those are two examples of people that are just stuck. And I thought, well, what if we put them in the same world and see if they can get each other unstuck? So it was more like an experiment, and I just wanted to see if it could work. And I thought the subject matter was really interesting, and so I went to the funders in March. Charlene and I talked to them and the idea and said, we really think this is a project we can make at a certain budget level where we feel like it can be successful. And got the green light in March of 2016 and had a first draft in May of 2016. And then we started filming.
Gotcha. I see that. Now, for you folks that are not familiar. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, pre-production was really fast.
Sometimes it works well that way, doesn't it? When the faster it goes, the quicker you get to making the movie, which I love it when it's quicker. Pre-production, I'll give you that. I see that in June you had your Florida premiere, in July you had your LA premiere, and then, of course, you showed in 5 other states, which I see. And just so you folks know, as they just mentioned, obviously it just went to DVD and Blu-ray on October 2nd, which was, of course, yesterday. So now you guys can not only get it on DVD and on Blu-ray, but you can also go, obviously, to Amazon, as well as this is so exciting. So you can actually buy it using cryptocurrency, meaning that it was released on this. Okay. Because I'm crypto stupid, just give me the short version and anybody listening in why this is so substantial. This is huge. And not only that, he has found himself a place at the Academy of Arts and Sciences. Wow. Big deal, folks. Kudos on that one.
Yeah, it's a really interesting time as far as what blockchain can mean for us. And so what it can mean for us in the film business is that we have, as revenue comes in, we can write what's called a smart contract identifying where that revenue needs to go and the certain splits that it needs to go. So right now, revenue comes in, it goes through the distributor, and then, it goes through all these intermediate steps before the investors get their money and the creatives ever get their money. So with cryptocurrency and smart contracts, whenever anybody watches a film, it immediately goes into the wallets of all the contributors. So it goes to the investors until that event closes, and then it goes into the 50-50 producer-investor split. And out of that 50%, that's where the actors, the directors, all of them can earn revenue, ongoing revenue for the film. So it provides an opportunity for us to basically just instantaneously pay the people that need to be paid as the revenue comes in, which is if you've ever through a distributor and have ever tried to get paid, let alone reporting, that in and of itself is pretty incredible. But what it also allows us to do, too, is that every time somebody watches the film, the copyright is logged to the blockchain. And so we can track that copyright. Now we know who's watched the film, and which is really important because it starts shifting the conversation of piracy. If we can start tracking the origination point of piracy, we can start taking that conversation further and putting additional frameworks in place that can really help curb piracy, because a lot of money for creatives is lost to piracy. And the reason it's lost to piracy because actually it's a bigger question of accessibility. When you consider that there's 1 billion people in the world that don't have bank accounts, so 1 billion with a B, unbanked people, is mind-blowing because here in America, bank account is just like we just take it for granted. But a number of those people have cell phones. And so with Bayview, we can create an ecosystem where people can earn by contributing videos to requests, and then they can spend what they've earned on premium content like No Postage Necessary. Now everybody that has cell phones that doesn't have bank accounts can engage in an ecosystem where they can earn and spend without touching any fiat currency.
That's awesome. That is just incredible. That to me I was like blown away when I read that. I'm like, amazing. Now, the one thing that we forgot to get to, which is just as important, which is that the musical theme throughout the movie, of course, which is Talk About Love. And I absolutely love this song. I'm about to play this. So obviously, Charlene, you would be the perfect segue person here. Lead us into this song. Talk to us a bit about it and what you enjoy about the song so much yourself.
Yeah, so the thing I like most about this song is just this kind of continual combination of in an internal dialogue that the singer's having, coupled with sort of a outward eye flick is how I envision it, to whomever she's speaking to. And it feels like it's a conversation that Josie, who at her height, when she was feeling strong, when she was feeling connected to who she is, might actually have with someone. And so, there's something to be said for just putting it on the table. What is, playing your cards? What is it that you want? If you want something, ask for it. And so this song kind of talks about just sort of skirting around the issue and then putting it on the table. So.
Very nice. Okay, I'll let the song speak for itself. We're going to play it. It's called Talk About Love. Wait till you hear this, folks.
We talked about a beach in Tahiti, Saint Germain in Paris, France. What makes the best martini? Stirred or shaken before it hits your glass. We talk about this, we talk about that. When we gonna get down to brass tacks? L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? We talk about having 3 wishes and a genie to make them come true. You'd go for a Maserati, I'm thinking oceanfront in Malibu. We talk about this, we talk about that, a whole lot of nothing as a matter of fact. L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? We go on about our favorite movies, Casablanca or Heaven Can Wait. Astronomy, philosophy, blind luck, or is it fate? I've been waiting, anticipating for the one thing missing from our conversation. L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? When we gonna L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love? Let's talk about it. L-O-V-E. When we gonna talk about love?
I mean, goosebumps is all I'm going to say about that one. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Wow to the movie, wow to the music, wow to the power couple. Oh, my God, can you believe we went a little over an hour? Isn't this nuts? It just goes so quickly. Too quickly.
Oh, it was
as a matter of fact.
amazing.
I mean, I think it's a testament to the people that are on my show, which would be the two of you. So there's a couple business things that we're going to cover, and then I don't know if you've ever listened to my interviews, but two things always happen at the end. Number one, I get to tell you what I think of you, which is always cool because that's the only part that's not scripted. So it's right straight off the top of my head. And number two, did you know that there are surprises on my show? Yes, there are. I give surprises on my show. Yes, I do. So wait for it. Here we go. Let me just read off the 800 ways that you can find these people. And I'm not kidding when I say literally there's 800 ways. So we're going to start off with the film itself, which is No Postage Necessary. First of all, the website itself is nopostagefilm.com. They have a Facebook page, same name, No Postage Film. They are on YouTube under Two Road Picture Company. You're going to want to go ahead and check that out. iTunes, IMDb, Amazon, Google Play. They are on Instagram. It's No Postage Film. They are on Twitter, same name, at No Postage Film, obviously. Now, when we flip over to these wonderful people, Jeremy Culver is the last name, Culver. He has an IMDb profile. The website, again, tworoadpicturecompany.com, and that's co.com. He has a Wikipedia profile. He is on Twitter, two different places, at Jeremy E. Culver, as well as Two Road Pics. Jeremy, do you have an Instagram or a Facebook? Because I was having trouble finding you.
Yes,
Instagram.
I do. I have both.
His
Okay.
Instagram is Jeremy Culver.
I think it's the same as
Okay,
Twitter.
got it. Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that because I'm like, I don't want to say something that's not correct. And then on the flip side, we have Charleene, and is it pronounced Closshey? Is that correct?
It is. You nailed it. Perfect.
Oh, awesome. So it's CharleneClosshey.com, and it's spelled CharleeNE, last name spelled CLOSSHEY.com. Soon to be Culver, just throwing that out there, but She is on IMDb, Wikipedia, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Her Instagram is CCLOSSHEY. On Facebook as the official Charleene Closshey, and Twitter at CharleenEC. Did I miss any place to find you folks?
Who knows? No, I think you nailed it.
There's so many of them. I'm inundated. Like, if you can't find these people, just type in No Postage Necessary. Their names are going to plop up. It kind of goes without saying, obviously. I don't want to forget to mention a couple people here. First of all, Nicole Cohen. Without her patience and persistence and us going back and forth, you two would never be on my show. So, Nicole, from me to you, I cannot thank you enough for bringing me two beautiful people with two beautiful stories. I can't thank you enough. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Note to you guys, about 2 hours after the show gets done, it becomes archived. So what I'll do is I'll send you a link from Blog Talk Radio. I also take every one of my shows and I put it on YouTube for my channel, and I'll send you a copy of that as well so that you guys both have that. Now we have surprises. So, number one, I've done enough research to see that, yes, your film has been reviewed before. So one of the things that I do, outside of the 800 things, is I do professional film review. So I was just going to say to you guys, do you need any more reviews? Because, you're pretty spectacular, and you probably don't need me. But I'm like, if they want me to do a written review of their film?
We love you. Listen,
is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. We would love it. The hits different pain points for people, and everything that you talked about I think was just so wonderful. And I would love to be able to share what you said with others as well. Yeah, totally. Because we've had other people tell us very similar things, but the more you can put it out there, I think the more it's able to connect with people. So please, we would be honored.
Well, yes, and I always think that reviews are good, but if you get too many reviews, it can be a sabotager sometimes, is what filmmakers say to me. And I've read all of the different reviews that you've had, so I was like, you know what, it wouldn't hurt for me to give them my stellar review. And I published it in multiple different places. So that was number one. Number two, you all are located what city?
Yes. We're kind of all around. We are gypsy nomads. So we split time between Florida, right outside of Florida, and Nashville. And sometimes Los Angeles. It just kind of depends on what's going on. So we spend a lot of time all over the country.
There's a reason I'm asking. Well, okay, so here's the deal. Obviously, because of the fact you've gone to what I call the end golden bridge, which is you're on DVD, you're on Blu-ray, obviously, of course, you're accessible on Amazon. And as you might have heard at the top of the hour, I am a film festival founder. And when you are a founder of a festival, you can do what you want. That's when I get to be the boss. So the boss here was thinking to herself, I wonder if these folks would mind if I asked them if we could set up a actual special screening within the course of my Art is Alive Film Festival so I could screen, show your film, do a formal Q&A, and then a whole bunch of other people could see your film.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
When is it?
Is that okay? Well, I don't know. Well, yes. We physically would have to, because I have my New York one. My home base is New York for Art is Alive. This year I was asked to do one in L.A. So I'm like, I will be in L.A. in December. I have also been asked to come to Florida. So I could align with Emily Taffel, my dear friend, who reps a really lovely, cute place by the name of Concrete Beach Brewery. Have you ever heard of it?
What coast is it on? Is it on the East Coast?
Good. Well, it's in Florida. I just don't know which part. I want to say either Miami or Fort Lauderdale. Are you guys close to that?
Okay, so we're on the West Coast, but it doesn't matter if it's Florida.
Okay. Well, the bottom line is I want to screen your film. And why? Because I want people to see you. I want to see you in person just because you're just so god-awful cute. And I thought to myself, if I have the ability to bring, a couple hundred people in to see this and be able to do a formal screening, I'd love to be able to, because I know obviously you're not doing the circuit anymore. So I'm like, I would absolutely love to do a special screening of it, or even if we have to wait till next year and do it in New York, we'll work it out. So I'm like, all right, we'll offer them a review, we'll offer them a special screening as far as that goes. I would absolutely love that. That would be awesome. So, yeah, I just thought I would surprise you as far as that goes. And if I can find time next year, beginning of next year, because I'm almost booked up, I'd love to do a feature article on the both of you. I think this dichotomy is very interesting in terms of being partners and working together with a company as well as putting a film together. It's very interesting. You are a power couple in the creative sense, and I would love to be able to feature you because that's what I do. I'm a journalist. I would love it. So there you go. Those are your little 3 surprises of the morning.
Those are the best surprises.
We're honored.
Yes,
well, I'd like to think they're good surprises. I'm like, well, who doesn't want to do a show with surprises, right? So the very last thing I get to do, because obviously I would love for you guys to get back to your day, and I think your publicist is wondering how the interview went, so I'm like, I want to report back, so I'm sure she'll be happy. So let me just wind the rest of this down by saying to the very both of you, first and foremost, again, thank you so much for your patience and waiting for me to be able to get around to you. One of the reasons that I was so insistent upon doing your film and talking to the both of you were 3 different reasons. I find myself gravitating to individuals in the creative realm that are 3 big things for me: passion and purpose and just pure creative genius. Those are the 3 things that I saw when I was perusing through your website, young lady. I saw a young woman who is frostful of talent and vibrance and life and love and just radiating creative passion. That's a huge thing for me. I always like to spotlight people like that, and not to mention the fact I wasn't kidding. Beauty pageant aside, you really are an absolutely beautiful soul. I could just see that from front to back. So I'm like, of course, who doesn't want to talk to a pretty girl for an hour who happens to be the lead in the movie, right? So I'm like, there you go. And on the flip side of the fence, Jeremy, you scare me. I'm looking at you and I'm like, this dude is really intimidating and he scares me. So it's always a challenge when I bring somebody on my show who's going to keep me on my A game, who's very serious, who is very, very intense in the best way possible about putting together the best product possible and giving to his audience something that will make them feel, will make them literally explore their own life journey and say to themselves, could I see myself on this path? Do I appreciate this story? You make the audience watch a story and a movie that has meaning and a message to it that's touching, and it's done so beautifully. I read a review or 2 for you guys, and somebody had mentioned something, and it was pretty minimal, and I was like, are you kidding me? Did you say that? I couldn't find something that I didn't like about this movie. And the reality of the situation is that people make movies all year round, but that doesn't mean that necessarily they always hit the mark 100%. I think you did. I think you did with camera. I think you did with casting. I think you did with locations. I'm very, very impressed. So I just think you both are just absolutely amazing. And I would love to continue to support you through time. Come back anytime you want on my show. I'd be more than happy to have you. I cannot talk this morning. So that's what I think of y'all.
Oh, well, we absolutely adored having the chance to connect with you. It sounds like you were doing some really great. I can't wait to see what you come up.
I'm trying.
You have such a passion and belly that you can hear, and I know that's what So that's what all 64,000 of your listeners hear. They hear your passion and your purpose, and you are just overflowing with creativity. So however we can do is do, that.
Absolutely, yeah. If there's anything we can do for you or you just want bad ideas around.
Actually, there will be one thing you can do for me, actually, because it'll be coming up. It's not now, but when I do, both of my movies circulate around the theme of love. And I'm just so touched by this love affair that goes on between the two of you. So I'm sure at some point I'll probably say, hey, you know what, you just want to kind of pop into this movie real quick and do this cute little scene for me. And yes, it's a SAG production. It's a beautiful, beautiful story, both the outline as well as the screenplay. So I'm very proud. So at some point I'll be knocking on your door for that. I just am more intent about making sure that everybody finds out about No Postage Necessary. Let's worry about you for now, but I appreciate that. I do. And I will be in touch. I'll send all the information. We'll get it all worked out. I'm just grateful you gave me all this time. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We absolutely enjoyed it, and good luck with everything. We'll see you on set. Before.
Yes, definitely. Wait, if not before then, because we'll do the screening. So I will be in touch. You guys have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. Tell me that they were not fabulous, right? I absolutely cannot tell you how excited I get when I talk to these people. So real quickly, let me wrap this up because I'm not really sure what happened to Judy. As you all know, that we're waiting for Judy Goff, the PR powerhouse that she is. So I'm not quite sure. I know that we had a change in phone number today in terms of calling, et cetera, and I've been graciously waiting here. In fact, I'd let the interview kind of go a little bit, hoping that she was going to join us, but I'm not seeing her, so I'm wondering if there's a problem. So I apologize for that one, guys. I'll have to get to the bottom of what's happening with that and let you know. One more time, Jeremy Culver and Charleene Closshey is the name. First off, again, No Postage Necessary is the name of the film. The website itself is nopostagefilm.com. It can be seen on Amazon, through Google Play, actually Vivu.com, iTunes. They are on IMDb, Facebook, which is No Postage Film, same name on Twitter, as well as Instagram. And, of course, they have a YouTube channel called Two Road Picture Company. As it relates to Jeremy Culver, he is on Twitter, he is on Facebook and Instagram, same name, which is Jeremy E. Culver, and of course, Two Road Pictures as well. He also has a Wikipedia profile, IMDb, and the website tworoadpicturecompany.com, and that's twopictureco.com. As it relates to Charleene, again, the spelling is Charleene with two E's and last name Closshey. The website, charleneclosshey.com. She is on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, IMDb, Wikipedia, and her Facebook is official Charleene Closshey, her Instagram, C Closshey, and the Twitter at Charleene C. Again, huge bunch of thanks to Nicole. I can't thank you enough for for just everything you do. And, of course, folks, once again, Jeremy, Charleene, you're absolutely lovely. My apologies as it relates to Judy. I'm not sure what happened. I'll keep you guys posted on that front. You guys have a great day. I am off to find out what happened. Thanks again for listening. Take care.
On Facebook Marketplace, you can shop for everything from strollers to lawnmowers to video game controllers. You can buy a briefcase from Faith, sell a basketball to Paul, or buy a record player from a neighbor named Taylor. See, there's a face in a book, and a market in a place where we can search and connect face to face. Facebook Marketplace. Buy and sell together. On Facebook Marketplace, you can buy basketballs or paintings for your walls from neighbors like Michelle or Paul.
Hi.
Hello.
Because on Facebook Marketplace, there's a real person behind the things for sale. Facebook Marketplace. Shop with real people for really great finds.